Cannabis Business Minds, we train and mentor professionals, entrepreneurs, and aspiring entrepreneurs on how to confidently find their place in the legal cannabis and hemp industries. Come on and join us at cannabisbusinessminds.com. It's been forever, Cannabis Business Minds. I feel like it has. I don't know if you're like me, but there's this thing about, you have fun in the summer. But to me, the year really starts in September. I don't know if it's from going into school and always kind of seeing that natural reset. Also, if you live somewhere where there's naturally fall, you really see fun. And it actually happened very nicely in Portugal. I was surprised how good it happened in Portugal. And, I say I'm so excited to see because I really feel like it's been a while. We've been doing a lot of cool things behind the scenes in the business world. And I've got some really good interviews popping up in the next few quarters. I also had a bank reach out to see if they could sponsor the podcast. So we'll see. It was the podcast agency representing the bank. So hopefully we can do a cool collaboration there. And for me, it was that's a very big step, hearing that banks are very interested in wanting to work with the cannabis businesses. Now, I find that very interesting because, just a business update, of course, all of the courses are all going on CBM, but I'm actually starting a new business. It relates to financial coaching. It's, helping cannabis businesses, but also a lot of creative entrepreneurs just really focus on their financial independence. So, soon I'll launch that, and soon I'll kind of share some of those, the website and some of the stuff that I'm doing there. But, why I even mentioned this is that, y'all, I had my bank account and my social security, and that at that moment it was a different legal entity, and an EIN, right? The EIN is the tax ID of your entity. I had that shut down in 2016 when I launched my cannabis compliance and tax book that I sold on my website. I also sell it on Amazon, right? I got my payment processing, not my bank, my payment processing shut down. And luckily I was able to maintain a bank account. But, as I moved over to Europe and I had some legal entities, but now I'm actually needing to start a new one. And so very long process, actually, just getting the admin ducks in a row to get the banking set up, the payment processing set up. And I am in Portugal, right? And so I can't go into a bank. I can't go, show them who I am. And I've had so many issues getting a bank account. And this last one happened last week. And so I just feel for anybody in the cannabis space. And I also want to give some advice if this is happening to you. First, if you are in the cannabis industry, you don't want to say it super loud. Hey, this is what I do. But at one point, the bank will find it out, right? They have know your customer. There's this whole set of compliance that they have to do. So, you can clean up your LinkedIn, you can do whatever you need to do. But at the point, they have a team that's going to be doing that. There's a lot of risk for them banking with cannabis. Or like myself, a cannabis related business that's not necessarily plant touching. So there's all this work that the banks actually need to do. So I submit my stuff, what type of business? Okay, here's my new EIN, right? That's it. And then I don't hear back. I'm like, that's odd. That's not so hopeful. And then another day passes and I get rejected. And it's a very nice email. It says, so sorry. This just, we do a due diligence and it just didn't seem like it worked out. And for me, not being able to get an online bank is very detrimental. I can't meet people. I can't cross the Atlantic and meet somebody, right? And this is also 2022. I'm all about digital systems. So this is a business lesson in anything. I did not let that turn me away, right? I emailed them back. I was like, hey, look, I want to be transparent with you. Is this related to me working in the cannabis industry? I service cannabis clients, but I also service all these other industries. She said, hey, actually, could you send me, I'm a CPA, a copy of your CPA license, a contract that you use with your customers, a few other things. I sent her that the next day. Voila, now I have a business bank account. So the point is, there's 2 points that in the cannabis industry, or even if you're a professional supporting the cannabis industry, you have an uphill battle on a lot of things that, quote unquote, typical businesses don't have, right? Add in now that we are in 2022, a lot is digital. There's much more cyber threats. There's much more kind of risk in general with fraud, money laundering, all that kind of stuff. I get it. But in general, working in this industry, you have to be very resilient and tenacious about really pushing back kindly, with gratitude, with grace, to try to advocate for yourself, not even to try to advocate for yourself. So that lesson is for banking. It's for negotiations with suppliers or clients, right? If this is talking to your team, this is setting yourself up for success. Is like, we can hear no so many times, right? Like no is a lot of people's favorite word. And so instead of letting those no's deter you, think about it as a different way of trying to get a different answer, right? So you can hear no, and then you can understand, well, what else can I do to get there, right? There is always a solution. It is about being resourceful. So that was for me, I felt like, hallelujah, because I've seen my clients deal with this all the time. And a lot of my clients, even if they work in the cannabis industry, are ancillary providers still struggling with this. So getting the request that a bank was interested about wanting to sponsor the podcast, it really felt like there was a move forward. Now, on that same note, I want to take a pause and a beat. I'm curious, whatever state you are, sit down and reflect. Do you feel like the cannabis industry is moving forward? Because when you look at the news, when you look at a lot of the components of the ecosystem of, the people that are actually talking about, people that are still looking for funding, about businesses that started in California that are unfortunately going out of business before it's even federally legal. I'm curious if that's how you feel, right? When we think about innovation, when we think about emerging markets, if you are a part of, quote unquote, those early adopters, you sometimes can be at a place almost too soon. And in cannabis, if you don't have the right strategy in terms of your cash flow, being there too soon could be detrimental if you're putting all your eggs in one basket. And, actually, this is a shout out to something that I created, and we actually have a few videos on it. The Cannabis Startup Business Checklist. It's about 8 pages, ultimate startup checklist that you can follow. And if you're cannabis licensed, there's some licensed stuff there, but if you're ancillary, you'll definitely find value in it. But it just kind of walks you step by step of actually getting to a launch place, because the whole goal, if you are in that startup mode, is to get your first customers. And I obviously work with a lot of startups. We're all startups if we're building businesses in cannabis. But funny enough, it's easy to talk about getting started. It's easy to say, it's easy even to build a website. It's easy to tell people about your strategy, talk to your team about your strategy. But what I have noticed, myself included, right? I'm not this perfect person in this realm, but what I've noticed is that it takes some time and it takes a lot more effort to actually take action. Now, the action's not actually hard. The action's very easy. The action is saying, okay, I built the sales plan. Let me go reach out to some customers. The action is, I am in the process of applying for a cannabis license, but shouldn't I really be focusing on my branding, my marketing? And going deeper into the branding and marketing, shouldn't I be taking action and talking to my customers? Shouldn't I be taking action and building a community? Because at the end of the day, when we think about startup success, okay, number one thing, you got to make sure market fit, right? If you have a market fit, you are going to be much more likely than those that are not going to be successful. It's 58% of businesses that go out of business didn't have a market fit, right? So market fit, okay. Next thing you got to really master is cash flow. Right? Cash flow is knowing your numbers, being smart, building revenue, not having a lot of expenses, right? That is the very high level cash flow. So if you can master those two things and actually take action on that, that is your goal to be successful in the cannabis industry. And so I am curious, we have listeners from all over, and I've been obsessed, and I haven't released this podcast because I'm a perfectionist and I do want to do a little bit more technical research on it, but it's about New York. I am watching the New York scene on LinkedIn as it was, rewind to 2017 in Los Angeles or in California. I did an analysis on the taxes that are in New York, the state taxes, the state cannabis taxes. Very different structure than California, very similar in terms of how it can harm a cannabis business. People are excited. People are talking about the boom of the industry. I get it. It's great. It's exciting. People aren't talking about, though, having more conversations with the state government, having more conversations about what has happened in these other markets like California, illicit market, crippling tax code, plus federal taxes. Those are the things that don't make an ecosystem in general successful. So it's interesting. I bring this up because I'm curious of where you are in your state, or if you're in a different country, in your country, where cannabis legalization is, how you're feeling about it, and the progress that's been made. Because there's been mass amounts of progress in terms of product formulation, in terms of cannabis science, in terms of some of the cannabis technologies, right? To better more efficiencies in grow, manufacturing, all those kind of supply chain KPIs. But when I just think back, and again, I always boil it back down to the numbers, like, is it truly growing in a more better, efficient way, right? So that's been my main jam. And with that, I wanted to figure out, what better programming, what better content we can give you, my favorite listeners of Cannabis Business Minds. Like, what can we give you? Like, what is it that you really want to hear? Originally Cannabis Business Minds started Cannabis Business Mindset, right? And so I'm curious, like, as you're listening to this, you have to take an action. You have to, holler at me, Simone at cannabisbusinessminds.com, and tell me what type of content you want, or on Instagram, but email's easier. We'll make sure that we start really creating that content, because the purpose of this podcast is to make you successful in your business endeavors. It's to make you feel that you have the tools that you feel, but that you actually have the tools to truly be successful. And I get it, because we're all in different stages of where legalization is. But if we all can relate to the concept of we're entrepreneurs, we're building community, we're building something, then we have a through line that doesn't matter if I've been doing it for 10 years and you are just thinking about doing it, because our goals, although the numbers are going to be different, the priorities are going to be the same. So this is, I guess, a little question for you and a little CEO assessment time of, we're starting the new year. Essentially, we're starting it in September, but now it's already October, of what it is that you want to accomplish in these next 12 months. This next year, like, what is it from a personal, professional, and business standpoint, what it is that you want to accomplish in cannabis, and what is it going to take to get you there? And those are the things that I want to be able to help you with Cannabis Business Minds. If it's mindset hacks, if it's productivity, if it's content, if it's having more scientists talk to us about the plant, happy to get somebody to host that, right? So y'all, this is call to action to my faves. Please let me know. Let me know what type of content you're really looking for. I got some good stuff up the pike. Like, we're basically getting the biggest thought leaders on Cannabis Business Minds to share their insight, to share how they've built their businesses, and to give us, that true CEO experience. But I do want to know specific topics, specific things that are on your wish list. So, a few more great episodes are about to drop in the next month, and I hope you enjoy them. All right, until next time. Thanks so much for listening to this week's show. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and if you enjoyed this, leave us a 5-star review. Make sure that you share this episode on your social media and tag us in the Instagram stories. You can find us wherever you go on social media. Just look up Cannabis Business Minds. Have an idea for the show or something that you want to talk about? Shoot us an email at podcast@cannabisbusinessminds.com.